All right. Now, we are giggling here today. We're having some good times. We're doing a live Q&A all about piercing. My name's Scott. This is Kelsey. And this is take number 2 today. We actually were live. And we were talking for a couple minutes. And I think we're on private. So we started over. So here we are. First time for you guys. The second time for us. Welcome in. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe. And when you're asking us a question, be as thorough as possible. The better you ask your question, the better off we're going to be able to answer it for you. And if you haven't already, tell your friends and family about us. The more people we have here, the more fun it is. How you doing today, Kelsey?
I'm doing so good.
All right, me too, me too.
It's a great day.
It really, really is. We got some good coffee, and we'll start that off with the cheers. So for those of you drinking the coffee or whatever you're drinking, cheers to you.
Oh, I didn't.
You got a drink that makes part of the cheers. Yeah, there we go.
We've got
I don't know, does that break the rules?
No, it's because every time somebody has to say something about my cheating with Starbucks.
Oh, you are.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, I've had to switch to Starbucks just because Dutch, I've noticed, just really messes with my stomach. And I think it's because of how much sugar they put in their drinks. Even if I switch to sugar-free, it's just, I don't know, something about it is
something about it
hurts my tummy.
All right.
Well, with any drink, some people like Coke, some people like Pepsi, some people like RC, generic Coke, whatever it is, and whatever makes you happy makes you happy.
Yeah.
And if you want to drink less superior coffee, go for it.
Right. We're gonna start a bidding war. All right. So we've got a lot of highs from Claire.
Hey, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Emily, Tanya. Hi from Jesse's American.
Hello.
Alba. Hi, Scott.
Hello.
Camille. Hi, y'all. I wanted back dermals or an eyebrow piercing. Can I know about the dangers / warnings about them?
So, in my personal opinion, eyebrow, you definitely have to have the anatomy for, have a piercer check it. But like lower back microdermals, I've never really had a pair last for more than, I want to say maybe 2 years without either one of them popping out or the both of them starting to reject, just because when you imagine yourself standing up nice and straight, yeah, they're going to sit nice and flush, but then the second you go to bend over, your lower back rounds out, so then it starts to kind of push the jewelry out. That's just from, I guess, personal experience, what I've noticed with these piercings.
Couches, chairs,
couches, getting
clothes
on
getting
pants.
caught. Yeah,
exactly. So microdermals have actually been banned from, I believe, our county in general.
Is it the county or state? One
I
or
don't
the
know if
other.
it's the county or the state.
Here.
And some places in California, it's also banned at this point as well. My best friend from back home was telling me that most places don't do microdermal piercings anymore. So.
I mean, I'll say this. I remember taking an APP class, Association Professional Piercers, and someone asked us, by the way, is anyone still even doing microdermal piercings anymore or dermal anchors? And very few people raise their hands. So it's kind of going away a little bit.
I personally do love microdermals. I do have one on my forehead. I love the way that they look. But this is now my second time having it done because the first one, it got a little irritated, and then my daughter snagged it. I just removed it. I mean, it probably would have been fine had I not irritated it, but certain places, like certain spots that you can get these done, they don't really last very long. So chest, for example, collarbones, anywhere on the arms, fingers, hands, whatever, those are not going to last very long. I've had people have them last on their face for years, 20 plus years, but yeah, there's just lots of complications with them. And if you don't like scarring on your face or on your body, then don't get them, because 9 times out of 10, they'll probably start to reject out. So,
and I'll be honest with you, as far as removal of dermal anchors, they can sometimes be kind of painful. And back dermals are the ones that anchor in the hardest, and they're hands down some of the most difficult ones I've ever had to remove, which means a little bit more pain. I mean, that comes in with the territory. If you're going to get something like this, pain does come in. But if it's one of the worst ones and it's that difficult, it's almost not worth it.
yeah,
They're so darn cute, though.
they are.
They are. So, but anyways, thanks for asking that. How are we doing over there, Nova?
Awesome. We've got a few more questions here. We have a hello from, I think this is Atri.
Hi, Atri.
Let's see. Hi, guys, from Alba. Keep putting holes in your face from Gerardo. And we have a question from Emily.
Sure.
I have 9 rings stacked in my septum, but how can I stretch it to fit more?
Interesting.
Let's see. It says the last 3 months hasn't loosened more room. So I guess the last time she stacked was, or added a ring to the stack was 3 months ago.
You're probably just running out of room. In all honesty, with the size that you're at with 9 rings being in your septum, you might as well just start putting hunkier pieces of jewelry in alone, unless you like the stacked look. But I mean, you really only have so much room in your septum to continue stacking and have them look good and not so like jumbled up. So.
I think there's a point with septums. I'm not 100% sure on this one, but you can only go up to a certain size and then it gets really tight and it hurts. And I think you can go past that and almost like it breaks the cartilage almost. And because like I knew a guy who had like a 5/8 inch or 3/4 inch plug in his septum, which was insane. And I know he didn't naturally have that big of a spot, but it was there, you know? And for me, I got up to a 0 and I couldn't get it to feel better. But I think it's one of those things where if it's
you just closer to that more dense cartilage up top of the bone,
pushing down a lot
it starts to get super painful and very uncomfortable. So
you might have maxed reach capacity and just, I would say like go bigger, chunkier rings. That would be my guess.
They look cooler at that point anyways.
Yeah. And if you do the bigger, chunkier rings, you can slowly start fitting in the gaps because there's going to be bigger gaps. So you might be able to do a couple of smaller ones and you might be able to do micro stretches that way instead of just a whole nother ring.
That's very true.
That's a good question. Curious what the biggest septum ever was.
Oh, I don't know.
Like I said, I personally seen 3/4 inch, but I'm like, and like you seen like those tusks back there, like those were in people's, those ones weren't in people's, those were more modern made. But I mean, that's the size people would wear. So I don't even know how big you could really even go. Oof. I feel like I've been talking on am I okay on the mic? Am I really bad today, Nova?
Oh, no, you sound good.
Okay, good. I keep turning my head to look at Kelsey, and I'm like, I'm talking away from the mic.
No, you're doing
so professional here.
Awesome. Yeah, so thank you for answering Emily's question.
Absolutely.
We have a comment from Lillian, who was here last week or the week before that.
Sure. What's up, Lillian?
She said, I told you that I had 25 piercings, but recently my piercer counted them, and I have 36.
Holy moly. Good job.
It kind of sneaks up on you sometimes. And it's like, 25. And it's like, you got to keep adding for each one you get. So it's 36. That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
That's a lot more than I have right now.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah.
Me 3.
Congratulations.
We have a question from Leave Me Alone, which I love the name. Who would you recommend going to for a coin slot? I'm in Illinois, if that makes a difference.
Illinois is close to...
Do you know anyone up in that area?
I can't think of anyone personally, but you're right in between here and I want to say... like Iowa. Well, Iowa is right by Illinois. So, so Davenport, Rex Body Modification, my friends, really good friends, Amanda and Chad Rex, and Chad Rex, I'm sorry. They are Rex Body Modification on Instagram.
Super cool.
So Mrs. Rex Mrs. Rex on Instagram or Chadillac Rex on Instagram as well. Give them, let them know that I sent you their way.
Like the only other thing is there's not a ton of body modification artists out there. So if you're
not many that I would recommend,
and they travel. So find one you like and see if they're going to be ever coming close to you, or reach out to them and ask them like, hey, do you ever make it out to, Illinois or wherever it might be? And he might say, actually next month or in 2 months, I'm doing this. And so they do travel quite a bit. And most of the time, because there's not a big demand in one area for those mods. So they travel and kind of do big little sessions like that. So you have a couple different options there.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
Very cool though.
We've got a hi from Just Erica and Shadow Linkle. Hi.
Hello.
And a question from Jesse. Hi Scott, will you guys be doing a weekly live podcast?
We're trying to. No promises at this point because I've got a lot on my plate, but I'm hoping to eventually get this a weekly thing. I would love to do that. And eventually, if it's not a weekly podcast, it's a video one week, a live one the next week. It's just reacquainting ourselves with the technology. We're getting there, but we're trying to get out more for you. Definitely get more shorts coming. That's the plan, I think. So
Absolutely.
Yes.
Hi, glad to catch the live stream from when you can't find a friend. Well, you finally found one.
You found some friends. We're always here.
Welcome in.
Absolutely. A question from Claire. On Valentine's Day, I lost the ball from my top helix on my right ear, but I was lucky to get a stud back in after 3 days of it coming out.
Wow.
How long to leave it in now?
I mean, if there's any soreness or crustiness, then I would probably leave it in for the next 6 to 8 weeks, just so it has some sort of a healing time.
Wait, isn't it a fresh piercing?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I thought it was a fresh piercing. I thought they said they got pierced on Valentine's Day, or it fell out on Valentine's Day.
It fell out on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, if it's a fresh one, you got to fully heal it up, and that's going to be months and months and months, probably 6 months minimum. But yeah, if it got sore, sometimes it just takes a couple weeks to maybe a month or two after to get back to normal.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good question.
Yes, indeed. A question from Alba. I have a piercing that is like 20 years old, and now it's been getting swollen and bleeding. I don't understand why. Maybe because I did 4 cartilage piercings. And I'm not sure if that is 4 fresh cartilage piercings, or...
Yeah, if you did 4 fresh cartilage piercings next to another one, it's going to swell, and that could cause the irritation there. If you said you did 4 cartilage piercings years and years ago, then they healed and they're just acting up, that wouldn't be the case at all. Sometimes if you're getting sick, you know, you sleep on it real hard the wrong way. If you got your hair done and your hairdresser or barber got it caught and yanked hard enough, that could do it.
There's so many different things that can just cause a piercing to, you know, get a little inflamed or irritated, even like menstrual cycles and everything. So all sorts of stuff. Your body goes through changes, and then it finds something to start attacking, and sometimes that thing is piercings, unfortunately. So,
and then there's also the possibility of, if you change soaps, shampoos, fabric softeners for laundry detergent,
but if
because
you slept on it weird,
all those
it,
chemicals are touching it too. So you really got to be a detective and try to break it down and figure out what changed or why it's doing this. And like I said, if you're feeling sick, sometimes piercings just act up too.
Yeah,
it's true. And an update from Claire, it is new. The helix piercing, or it's new-ish at least. Okay. She said it's not too bad. It's not sore and no pain.
Is that the one where the bead fell out?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you need to leave that in there for probably like 6 months to a year. You know, once you're done with crusties and it doesn't hurt and it's back to complete normal, but generally minimum 6 months on that one.
Awesome. Yeah, it's about 2 months old.
Yeah.
So. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got a couple months.
A couple more left.
More left.
Awesome. Let's see.
I'm glad you were able to save it. That's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
From Guns and Butter, what's up?
I love Guns and Butter.
Me too. From Zesty Child, same. What's your favorite piercing, and what's the most painful one you have?
My favorite piercing, like on myself or to do on people? My favorite piercing on myself, I would probably have to say, I don't know, maybe my nose setup. I mean, everything that I have in has been all of my favorites, but probably my nose setup and my ears. Favorite piercing to do on people lately has been... That's a hard one.
It's really tough.
It's really tough. I've been loving septums all over again. I went through a weird phase of dreading when a septum piercing came in, because for whatever reason, I couldn't get them right. And, yeah, but then I just changed up how I hold the needle and everything, and now I'm back to normal. I'm loving them again.
I do want to say we're kind of perfectionists when it comes to piercing. So when we say we didn't get it right, doesn't mean it was a crooked piercing. It's just like, it could have been done better. It's not the best of our abilities. And when you get on a streak like that with piercing where you just can't be happy, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. I'm glad you came out of that little
me too.
funk.
And you know, so septums are one of the harder things to pierce, you know, so I've even taken septum classes for APP and everything, and there are people who have been piercing 20 plus years longer than I have, and you know, sometimes you do have to do a quick re-pierce or something, but that just makes it so that you never leave with a crooked piercing. I will not let people leave our studio with a crooked piercing. So just want to save myself on that one. I don't mess them up and then let people leave. So
it's just weird to hear, like, you know, because a lot of people are like, I wasn't happy with it. Like, we're going to let things leave as long as you're happy. But it's just like, you know, it's like, I could have done it smoother. It should have been a hair more forward or a hair more, you know. I
will always explain why I personally, as the perfectionist piercer, would like to redo it or eventually fix it if it like doesn't necessarily straighten out during the healing process, if that's even possible. But
So my favorite piercings on me, probably easy, I would say, my nipple piercings. I'm going to have my nipples pierced forever. I just feel the most weird when I don't have those in. My favorite piercings to do, I've been piercing for almost 30 years. It's like I almost don't have a favorite piercing. I more have favorite people. You know, like it's the experience in the room, it's the talking, the conversations, the learning something, the being able to teach something, those are my favorite experiences. So like when you come get pierced by me, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be talking. I'm going to find out what you do, what your hobbies are. And, if we have anything in common, then we'll be talking about that. And we'll be talking. I like to talk. I don't know if you guys figured that out or not, but I like to talk. Yeah.
Indeed. I'll answer too. My favorite piercing on myself is probably my bridge piercing, actually, which is a recent one.
It suits him very well.
It wasn't one that I was like super excited to get. I mean, I was excited, but I got it and I was like, wow, that looks like it's meant to be there. Most painful one for sure for me was my high nostrils. Don't recommend. I do recommend because they're awesome, but they were.
It's not a walk in the park.
It is not a walk in the park. All right, we've got a question from Ruda.
Hey, Ruda.
Hello, I have a question. What are the piercings that y'all won't do on someone who's 17? I'm asking because I tried getting angel fangs / vertical labret piercing, and they told me no because they were extreme.
So every piercer is going to have a different kind of prerogative on what they're comfortable with doing. Number one, we will not do nipples or genital piercings. They're illegal. They're illegal in every single state. So if someone says they're probably legal to pierce a minor's nipples or genitals, no, it's not. And yuck. No.
Yeah.
Wait till you're 18. You got to wait till you're 18 on those. There's a lot of people who wouldn't do oral piercings back in the day because they considered some of that to be sexual, which kind of ended, and I don't think that's a big deal. I've always been hesitant on doing industrials on minors. Now, the reason being is the cartilage can collapse. You can have some massive scarring. It takes forever to heal. And it's one thing to be 16 years old and say this is going to take another 16th of your life to heal, but once you're older, it doesn't seem as long, It's like when you're young and active and you don't know what you're doing, you're having more problems with that.
Right. You don't have any other piercings or anything like that. Industrials, in my opinion, are definitely one of those things that are a little bit more on the advanced side because, it is 2 piercings with 1 piece of jewelry. Anything can go wrong with that, especially if you're sleeping on it, not taking care of it properly. And if you're not familiar with how body piercings heal or how your body heals with piercings, then it can be pretty intense. So
yeah. So I don't do cheeks at all, but I will do cheeks on a minor. No surface piercings or dermal anchors. The lip piercing thing is questionable because it's kind of creating a lot of scars. Like if I had someone come in that didn't have thicker eyebrows and they wanted to get like 3 eyebrow piercings, I would be like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. If you wanted just a single one and you're working, we'll work with it. Those leave massive, massive scars. And it's one of those things when you're under 18, it's like making that decision to scar your face for the rest of your life is like,
I personally have piercings that I wish I had never gotten because I do not like the scars that they left. I turned 18. I was able to get whatever I wanted pierced. And, I had the Dahlia piercings done right here, but they were done way too far out where someone had considered them being cheek piercings. Turns out it was somebody who had no idea what they were doing. And I have massive chunks of scar tissue on the inside of my mouth because of those piercings. They were pierced and then I had curved barbells in. They were also done at a 16 gauge, which is like insane to me. I didn't know better though. I had no idea, but I wanted them that bad. But the scarring alone, occasionally I will bite the scar tissue and it sucks.
Yeah.
So piercings, facial piercings are one of those things you really have to take into consideration when it comes to the scarring that they're going to leave behind. So yeah.
Different for everyone, and everyone has different things as far as what they're comfortable with. But that's the one thing is like some piercers have a lot of morals and ethics and don't want to be part of the bad decision that's going to leave something where we know it's not going to work out long term and you're going to have that permanent scar.
Right.
And it just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. So it's bad for the community. So that's why we kind of do that. There's also a lot of people out there who really don't care and just all they care about is the money in the business. If you want it, that's your decision and go to it. And you know what? They're somewhat right, too, because it's like if your parents willing to sign for you and like, but it's a 2-party system.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Kind of a deep conversation there we could get into with that one. Kind of did. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great question, though. But yeah, it's up to the piercer and what they feel comfortable with. I know some piercers, some guys who are piercers who won't even pierce nipples because they just feel uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, I don't know, it's whatever you're comfortable with.
Yep.
Cool.
Agreed.
We from Belinda. Hello from Australia.
Hello.
Australia.
Down under.
Would that be
Down
evening
under.
then, or is that probably the opposite side of the world?
Yeah, so it's like nighttime out there.
Yeah. Have you ever
An
heard
Australian in here. Yeah, I don't really know how to do the accent.
Have you guys ever heard of Ameristralia?
No.
It's this like group online, or at least it was, where they talked about how we should merge the United States and Australia, and then somebody would always be up 24/7.
Oh.
We'd be unstoppable,
It's not a bad idea. I kind of like that.
right? And Australians are basically just like Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Americans with more mullets. But all right, so
They got kangaroos. We got all the deer.
yeah, it's true. When you can't find a friend, asks, I'm stretching my lobes and I'm currently on 1 gauge. I have some titanium tunnels that are internally threaded, but they sting my ears sometimes. Maybe the bevel, question mark? I've been at 1 gauge for like 5 months.
Okay. Sometimes those internally threaded flesh tunnels, the threading or the gap can almost be in the middle of your ear. Sometimes because like when you screw it in, if it's that way, you know what I'm talking about. So if that gap is in the middle and it's stretching, it's going to kind of get stuck in that little gap. So sometimes those are kind of frustrating. Maybe find some glass plugs at the next size where it doesn't have that seam or the gap in there. Sometimes that little groove for the O-ring is too close in, and that kind of makes things too tight for you as well. And, you know, everyone has different size earlobes. There are some companies that make different size plugs for different wearing surfaces. Some people have like fatter earlobes. Some people have really skinny earlobes. And if you just have the wrong size jewelry, that could be the problem too. So yeah, you're probably about ready to be stretched. I mean, at that time, you know, sometimes it's as little as 2 months, but sometimes it does take several months like that. And if worse comes to worse, just use the tape method. You know, if you have those 1 gauge plugs, just put a couple wraps of Teflon tape, wear that for a couple days before you try to put in that next size. And that might be enough stretch just to take that edge off, that little seam or the gap that would be in the middle of your piercing. That's my 2 cents. Do you have anything to add?
Just, stretch with something a little different. Single flared glass is always the way to go, in my opinion. It's a lot more comfortable, the stretch itself. And then once you're used to being at that size, then, you know.
It shouldn't be a problem.
It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We've got another stretching question
Sure.
from Savannah. How long will the healing take when stretching an 18 gauge helix to a 16 gauge?
It's a pretty small stretch. I know you kind of feel it, but there's not a lot of surface area. If you stretched properly, it's not like you have to heal it up again. It just needs to relax. Because you didn't break the skin. It's not like it bled and you have to heal a whole nother process. You're just waiting for that to loosen up a little bit. Like you put on a pair of jeans in the morning, and by the end of the evening, they're a little bit looser. They've stretched out, but you know, the tube of scar tissue is a little bit harder than the jeans, so sometimes it takes several weeks before it goes back to normal.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed. You might experience a little bit of soreness. And if you did break the tissue, just because of the style of jewelry,
just keep your hands off.
yeah, keep your hands off. Treat it like a fresh piercing. You're looking probably at like 3 to 6, 6 to 8 weeks of just a little bit of a short heal time, but otherwise you should be fine.
Yep. Good question.
It was. We have another question from Linda. Another good one from Linda. Hi, Scott. I have my lip piercing since August 2023, and I had a bump the last 2 days. And I had a bump. The last 2 days, I guess it released some pus. The piercer didn't remove the piercing because he said it will be better. What do you say?
I kind of agree. I mean, if there's a chance of any sort of infection, you don't want to just take it out and trap the infection on the inside. You should try to treat it first. I don't know if I would say it's infected though. A little bit of pus, people get confused with like infection pus and irritation pus. You know, if it's more of a clear liquid, it doesn't have that gray or dark yellow discharge, that's just general bodily fluids trying to heal a small irritation. Now, if you have that discharge where it's full on pus, where it's greenish yellow or gray, you're radiating heat, that's a sign of infection, and you should probably get on antibiotics at that point, or at least get a hold of a doctor and see what they say. They would take a culture test. I'm going to go off on a tangent here, so I get really frustrated sometimes with doctors that don't take tests and they see redness and say, yeah, it's infected, throw you on antibiotics. Make sure it's truly infected before you just jump on antibiotics. A lot of times it just gets better, and we end up, our body can only take so much antibiotics before we get immunities to them, and we've already become immune to so many different antibiotics,
yeah, exactly.
And it sucks to overuse them. So I don't suggest overusing the antibiotics, but use them if they're needed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we never really recommend to put ointments on your piercings, but sometimes even just a normal topical antibiotic can be, helpful rather than ingesting and then like crashing your immune system. So, yeah.
Because it's generally mostly healed. It's just a small area that...
And people confuse infection with irritation constantly. And even doctors, or my doctor said it was infected. So yes, when you see pus, that is white blood cells, attacking the area, which in like medical terms would be a small infection, but it's not, it's not something that you really need to go on antibiotics for. It's not like an extreme case of infection. Like I said, it's something that you can literally just put a topical antibiotic ointment on and it'll be fine. So
I believe the reason doctors generally do this is because their training is to heal a wound close. And there's the healing process. And I think it's the second stage is inflammation and redness. And normally that goes away pretty darn quick and closes up. The fact that we're trying to do a piercing and keep the wound open, that redness and inflammation stage lasts way longer than they're used to. So they just automatically see it and go, wait, it's this many days old and it's still this red. It's infected. And it's like, no, you need to do a culture test because you really don't know, because piercings are different than normal wounds.
Exactly.
Yep. My nose really
Awesome.
itches.
And it is always best to keep the jewelry in, even if you do have an infection, like he was explaining, taking the jewelry out, you can, then kind of risk trapping the infection in your ear and everything, or wherever your piercing is. It's always best to leave the jewelry in, because then that way it has a way of draining, what it needs to drain out. So,
which is one of the keys to, I don't even need to be a doctor or have the doctor say this, but if you soak your ear in some warm water or do a hot compress on an infected piercing, you're going to draw a lot of that out and gets you a head start before you get to the doctor.
It works wonders. Yeah. Hot and cold compresses.
Get the stuff out of there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It looks like both Alba and Lillian are getting piercings next week.
Nice.
Congratulations. I think I'm due again too.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I scratced the itch last week.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Scott.
Nova's got a piercing itch.
Yeah, had a 12 gauge. Here's a question for you, Kelsey, from Anna. Has Kelsey had her subdermal implants removed? What was the experience like? Apologies if this is wrong, but it's hard to tell on the video.
No, I was wondering if anybody would even notice. But
I was
yes,
too. I was too.
I decided. Honestly, I've been on the fence about taking them out for the last, for the last couple of months. You can still kind of see a little bit of where they were.
A little raised area.
A little bit of a raised area. They've only been out for about 2 weeks now. It's something that I've just kind of been on the fence about for the last about year since I had the third gens put in. So with these subdermal implants, you go by generation. So first, seconds, and then my goal size was thirds. So it was actually like a week before I started working at Scott's studio at Piercing Vegas that I decided I'm either going to take them out or I'm going to go bigger. I was already sitting on the larger size, so I was like, I'll try the bigger ones. I had them in for about a year, and for that whole year I contemplated off and on, and then I went to bed one night after looking in the mirror. I don't know, I've just been craving some sort of change, and I needed it to be an extreme change, and I was either going to remove all my piercings, cut all my hair off, or take my implants out. And I fell asleep thinking about it, had a dream that I removed them, and I called my friend Tony Snow, who is the one who actually did them, and asked if we could take them out. And he was like, yeah, if you want to come in around 6. And I did.
Yeah.
And I just really wanted to see, I guess, what life would be like without them. It's changed a lot. I can actually have conversations with new people, clients, and just in general.
Did you have to say my eyes are down here?
Yeah, I've had to say that just as like in a joking way, but yes, getting into being a heavier modified person, you have to have the mindset that you are going to be asked these questions on a daily basis,
For sure.
if not every time you conversate with someone. And I think I just reached a point of not being a fan of it anymore. It's one thing wanting to look like this and you're cool with it and everything, but I don't know. I just wanted to see what life would be like without them. And so far it's been great. Nobody asks me about my horns. Nobody asks me, I can sit there and talk to someone for a half an hour and the first thing out of their mouth is, did that hurt? How did they do that? And it's like, I understand it's such a new thing for someone to see, or someone's never seen it in person, so they want to know. And I get it. And it's nothing that I was ever angry about or anything. So, but yeah, life has been pretty good and I'm really excited about it. So yeah.
It's pretty amazing the changes and things that can happen. Yeah, horns are a lot more extreme than earlobes, but I mean, my earlobes were big, and when I had them cut off, people didn't know how to, and I could just tell like society changed around me.
Right.
It's like I couldn't physically see each person, but you could feel the vibe was different.
Yeah.
Which is a really crazy little experiment kind of thing to do, but people treat you differently.
People do treat you differently, and that is something, if you are considering getting a little bit heavier into modification, to consider. So
It does change your life.
It does change your life a lot, by far. So yeah.
It's true.
I mean, it's all fun and everything, but yeah, I was just kind of over it, and I'm excited about this new chapter in my life. So
yeah. I'm happy. Kelsey's happy. I think it looks great. Either way.
you can see more of my beautiful face.
I gotta say, it was really kind of weird the first time I saw him because
I know, because I didn't tell him. I didn't tell anyone. I just waited to see.
And I was just like,
notice.
something's different. Something's
different. He's like,
yeah.
your face looks thinner, or like, you took your cheek piercings out. I'm like, yeah. What else did I take out?
Yeah. It was bizarre. And the skin had a little bit of a sag. It's definitely way better
It felt
now.
like a water balloon.
Yeah. And like you touch it and it was like all soft and weird. It was,
But now it's starting to flatten out.
Yeah. So going back to normal.
Woohoo.
So cool. Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey.
Sorry. This isn't the Kelsey show. This is Piercing with Scott.
No, that was awesome. Thank you for telling us about it. It's had to be a cool experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are really curious about those types of things too.
Yeah.
It's like, is it reversible? Yes.
And
it is.
and to answer the process and whatever, it was a super quick, like 15-minute process.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything, and it was. I had the incisions up top right here by my hairline instead of where we had always gone in through this side. So it was as close to the implant as possible. Just made a small incision and just popped them right out.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Non-stick.
Easy peasy.
silicone.
Non-stick silicone.
There you go.
My hands might be next, but I'm not sure because I really do love these. So we'll see.
They are fun. All right, we've got a question from L. Garrity. Hi from the UK.
Hello.
Is it safe to wear hoops 24/7, like clickers or seamless rings, in earlobe piercings without getting the cheese wire effect? I tend to only wear threadless flatbacks. Would it be better to stretch up to like a 16 gauge from a 20 gauge for hoops?
Yes. That would be my only thing I would say is make sure you have the right size thickness, and then you can wear them forever. I mean, I've had
The thicker the better.
a 14 gauge clicker in my tragus for probably, I don't even know. It was a seam ring for a while, then it changed to the clicker, but it's been in there probably 25, 30 years. Easily. I've always had a ring and I've never had any issues. So just make sure you have the right size and the right, gauge, and everything should work out really, really well.
Another big thing with wearing, stuff in your ears is a lot of people have the habit of pulling on their earlobes or pulling on the jewelry. That alone can cause the cheese cutter effect. It just, or even spinning your jewelry, just like with the nose, some people will spin it and spin it and spin it, and it starts to create that little line of a scar and it drags the piercing down. Just keep your piercings alone. No touchy.
Do you think that could be from an unpolished ring too? If you just have a cheap one and you spin it, it's like pulling a saw blade through there. But if the smoother it is, the less chance.
I think it depends. Yeah, or even like the clicker style. If it's nice and smooth,
the ridge
even.
grabs a hold and
exactly.
Yeah.
So it causes irritation and everything. That's why you just shouldn't rotate your piercings.
Yeah, you don't need to.
But you really don't need to. It's just a habit. You know, people get into just messing with stuff. My cheeks were my biggest thing. I'd constantly rotate for whatever reason. But now that they're not there, I'll catch myself like, oh, not there anymore.
Yep. So I do want to bring this up. I was on Amazon the other day, and there is this, I don't remember what they're called, like ear miracle savers or something like that. But there's this new thing. I'm going to order them, and I'm going to review them. But they're clear stickers you put on your ear, and then you can wear the big, heavy, thin hoops so it doesn't cut down on your ear.
Oh.
Which kind of makes sense, but it depends on if they're truly invisible or not.
So those have been around for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
I know that my grandmother used to have to wear them because her piercings, it was either my grandma or my aunt, one of them. Anyways, they would have to wear it on the back of it just to hold the actual piercing that they had shut, because over time, phones and everything, holding your phone on your thing, it starts to split it. So she would have to wear those if she ever wanted to wear earrings. So those have been around for quite some time.
I'm not familiar with them, but I saw them. Like it seems like a good idea.
It's genius to use just in general, in my opinion, so that they don't create that cheese cutter and like that opening or traveling of the piercing. So
I only had two ideas there, or two possible. Like, one is how visible is it? Does it really take away and make it look bad? And number two is, how does it stick there? Because some people have allergic reactions to the
adhesives and everything. Yep.
So that would be the only other thing. But I mean, in general, it seems like a really good idea. They're in my cart for Amazon. I'm going to order them, and we're going to talk about them, because who knows? Maybe there's other uses for these too. I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out though. Yeah.
Cool.
Always researching.
Yes.
Oh, yes. From Just Erica. I've had to take out two piercings. Two piercings. It looks like a helix and a vertical helix.
Okay.
Because they would not heal. Is it normal for some piercings to not work for some people?
Yes, especially helix piercings. This is something that more than likely you were favoring that side when you're sleeping.
Let's take a step backwards, though. Mm-hmm. How was it pierced? Was it done with a piercing gun, a piercing needle?
That's a good question.
Number two, did you have good quality jewelry in there?
Right.
Or what are you wearing? Is it a ring or is it a stud?
How thick was the jewelry? How long was the jewelry?
What is your aftercare? Mm-hmm. Are you using wound wash spray? Are you using alcohol peroxide? There's a lot of things that will cause problems. You should only be using the wound wash. And then these generally take 6 months to a year to fully heal on top of that. So there's a lot of factors.
Yep, exactly.
And if it's not heal, I mean, I would think everyone should be able to heal a helix piercing. And if you're not, what's the problem? Where is the problem? Are you sleeping on it, like Kelsey was saying? Is it hair product? Is it fabric softener? Is it your aftercare? Are you touching? Do you wear a helmet wearing a motorcycle and it's constantly being upset? There's a lot of factors. A lot of factors.
I just had a client recently. We had to take out her helix piercings that we had just done, and I was so excited about them. But because she constantly wears a headband, for, I believe it was lace front, she would sleep with the headbands on and everything. And it's just, if you're not tucking it behind your ear to keep off of your ear piercings, they can cause a lot of issues. So, unfortunately, had to take them out.
Again, it's like we got to be a detective and try to find the problem when we don't know what all the possible problems are. But if something hurts it, or like I said, just watch some of our videos, like the proper aftercare, how a piercing should be done. Was it done with a gun? They're all factors. It really does make a difference.
Everything matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. Let's see. We've got a question from Tania Marquez. I've been working as a body piercer since September. I'm learning and studying every day.
Good.
Awesome. Good.
Hopefully you went through an apprenticeship, because it's not something you want to just walk into, because there are dangers involved. But I'm glad you're educating yourself. You're always welcome here. Hopefully you can pick up some tips. And if you have questions, we're always willing to help.
There's a lot of different forums and everything on different social medias that you can follow. On Facebook, there is Ask a Professional Piercer. There's
also the learning forum.
The
which
learning
for
forums
a
and
piercer, I
everything.
would recommend over Ask a Professional Piercer.
Absolutely.
I always recommend Ryan Ouellette's Piercing Wizard podcast.
Yes.
That's a real strong source of piercing information.
Absolutely. Let's see.
I need to interview him one of these days.
Yeah.
Ryan, if you're watching this, I want to interview you.
Yes. From Dominique, Team Bridge. Yes, agreed. Love my bridge. Let's see. We have one from Atri. I had to take my nipple piercings out after 5 years. I felt empty for the year I let them rest before getting re-pierced. I feel whole again now.
Same.
Man, I truly understand that. Scott
Yes,
just
I
re-pierced my
understand
nipple.
wholeheartedly.
We all understand it.
I had mine for about 14 years before I had my children, and both times with my kids, I tried doing the whole breastfeeding thing and couldn't get the jewelry back in on the right side both times. So I just decided, you know what, I
the
have
left side stayed
downtime.
open?
Yeah, it was still open. It was perfectly fine. It was the right side that just kind
Do
of.
you mind if I ask what gauge you were at?
12s.
12s. Okay. Normally they close up fairly quick,
Yeah,
but
they
it
do
can
close it
stay
pretty quick.
open.
Yeah, they can definitely stay open. And, you know, I could put like a 20 gauge taper through on the right side.
A little bit of stretch.
But
to do.
with nipple piercings, I absolutely recommend just re-piercing. Don't taper because it feels like
The worst.
the gate of hell
I disagree.
being shoved through your nipple. It is
I
not a
disagree.
good time. No.
I have my nipples stretched to like a
I
4
re-pierced
gauge.
it myself, and it was one of those things. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just slowly go through the old fistula, and I was like, oh, whoa, I'm already through. Wow, this is great. But no, I was sitting there with a taper. I'm sweating. I had to lay down at one point because I'm lightheaded. No, do not taper your nipple.
See, to me, that sounds like a good time. I don't know.
Scott's a weirdo.
No, here's the way I look at it, though. Like, I would rather go through a little bit of pain and deal with it for a day or two
little bit of pain
instead
is
of
repair.
dealing with a year to 2 years of crusties and all the aftercare issues and all the...
No, because I went right through the old fistula. It was like I had very minimal bleeding, and it's been about 2 months now, and I don't get any more crusties. It's perfectly fine.
Normally, people get crusties. for
Normally
much
people do
longer.
get crusties.
Yes, she's a weirdo.
My body just
We love her.
feels.
But we love her.
My body just feels.
So that's my 2 cents. That's why it's like,
I'm a
if you
mutant.
can eliminate that aftercare for nipple piercings because it takes so long to heal, that's why I like doing the stretch. Granted, if I can barely get an 18 gauge
stretch.
in there, I might suggest just re-piercing it.
Yes.
But if you can get like a 18 to slides in, the 16 starts getting a little tight, go with a little bit of a pinch and get it up to the size you need. Or if you need to stop at 16, wait a month and then stretch it back up to the 14. You know, it's like there's different ways to go about it, but I'm pro stretch nipple. I am pro nipple stretch.
Come
That's
see
right.
me,
I'm also pro nipple stretch.
bro. Nipple stretch.
Yeah,
No.
Generally speaking.
Hey, if you're a piercer or if you've had your nipples stretched, let us know in the comments. I'm
Yeah.
really curious.
I'm curious, too.
about this one too. And we haven't really said it other than the beginning of the show. Hit the like and hit the subscribe. Just do it.
Amen.
I should be more aggressive with that. Hit the like.
No.
You better like us.
Scott will hunt you down.
You better follow us.
I'll knock on your door. I'll
We'll
make
find
sure.
you. We'll start sending you letters in the mail.
So I think this is a follow-up for when we were talking about industrials on minors. Specifically,
Okay.
You had talked about the cartilage collapsing.
Yes.
Savannah, I believe, wants you to kind of expand on that. She said the cartilage can collapse? ?
Ooh, yeah,
Yes.
you can do what is in terms of like shattering the cartilage. This is why, places that use piercing guns such as Claire's and Target and a couple of other places who still do the ear piercing gun situation. So
Can you look that up, Nova? See if you can pull up on the computer like
Sure.
cauliflower ear and collapsed cartilage.
yeah, so that's why it's banned from the ear gun piercing places to pierce anything that is not soft tissue. So earlobes and everything, they should not be piercing cartilage. And if they are, they offer it, that is completely illegal. So yes, these are really good examples of cartilage collapsing, shattering, breaking, causing cauliflower ear, excessive damage.
Shout out to BME.
Yeah, shout out to BME.
I know it's kind of disturbing and it's really scary. Normally things like this don't happen, but again, it's like if I'm, some dad brings his daughter in to get pierced and her ear collapses, and it's like that's the most likely way we're going to get sued if that was the case. So you just got to be so careful about these things, and that's why a lot of people won't even do them on minors.
This is normally caused just from like a high. High source of trauma. Sorry, I'm trying to find the word.
I was like high traumatics.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is and like there's piercers who won't do the piercing, and these people like, oh, I'm going to go to someone, and they find a cheaper, worse person, which increases the risk of it happening, which is why it's like sometimes society just wins, and it's like, okay, I'll start doing these piercings. If you're going to mess yourself up, there's less of a chance of it happening with me, is why I do it. But it is a risk.
Yes. Thank you, Nova.
Thanks, Nova.
A follow-up from Erica. Let's see. She was talking about getting her, I believe it was helix pierced.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like she said that she was pierced. Let's see. With a needle, a stud, titanium, downsized when I was supposed to. I wash them daily with saline spray. And it looks like she said she's used antibacterial soap at night.
Okay.
No antibacterial soaps, only because you are killing off both the good and the bad bacteria. And although we don't necessarily want too much bad bacteria, you need the good ones.
Yeah. And it wouldn't stop your piercing from healing. It would prolong it, and kind of it's just like a step backwards. What was this the vertical and the normal helix one?
Yes, I believe that.
Okay. You couldn't get him to heal. So it sounds like most things you were possibility of like sleeping on it, hair product, things like that. And how long did she say how long she had it? Because sometimes even like if you got two right next to each other, they put pressure on there, and that does make a longer healing process. I have seen them take over a year to heal.
Yes.
So some people are like, it's been 6 months and it should be healed by now. I'm like,
no.
Sometimes no.
In a lot of cases, within 6 months, that's like the prime of your healing process. That's when it looks like really ugly, or the ugly phase. Some piercings go through that. They'll look fine one day, and then the next day they're just like irritated, swollen, red, and like crusty.
I would say like the 3 to 6 month range.
3 to 6 month range is usually like at its prime.
Swollen.
Yeah, swollen.
Yeah.
At between 6 months and a year is usually when that starts to dissipate and it starts to look a lot better, a lot healthier, normal skin tone and everything. A lot of the redness is going away. By the first year, you should be okay. But if you are sleeping on it and you're, applying unnecessary pressures to these piercings, it's one of those things that it may not really ever heal properly, and you could always have that redness and that buildup of scar tissue. So just prolonged healing.
And it's like we initially do a cartilage piercing, and we say in about a month to about 3 months is what I say, you're going to want to downsize. And sometimes you're going to find after a year, you're like, but I already downsized, and all of a sudden it seems like the bar's a little long again, and that's when you can almost do a second downsize if you need to. But it just goes to show there's like many stages of healing in the cartilage, and it's one people always assume that a helix piercing is one of the simple, easy ones, and in my opinion, it's one of the more difficult ones to heal.
I agree.
I think it's just because people's expectations are way lower, and it throws them off.
Yeah.
So expect
really 6 months to a year of healing.
I get that a cartilage,
lot.
Yeah.
It's just a regular piercing. Well, it's it's both soft tissue and cartilage is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So
stubborn.
Super stubborn.
Oh, and just so I was corrected. It was antimicrobial soap. But yeah, either way, we don't want to be using antimicrobial.
Oh yeah, that's even more harsh than just an antibacterial.
Yep. That like strips everything.
Yes, it'll cause dryness, irritation, and it probably says to not use on puncture wounds on the label. I would read it really well. So some people are, all about Hibiclens and all this other stuff, but those are way too harsh to be putting on piercings. Although it does say gentle and it's like considered a hypoallergenic and it's scent free and everything, there's still probably something in there that is not meant for a body piercing.
Never.
The best way to heal a piercing is let your body kind of do its own thing, but assist with a simple sterile saline solution.
Hey, Nova, can you pull up HibaCleanse on Google? I need to show you this. This one is really, really, really extremely important. If there's one lesson I'd want everyone to get out of this today is do not use this. I believe this stuff, even if it's used anything above the head or above the shoulders, like the head area, I believe it can cause blindness.
Oh yeah,
Like it's no joke. Whoa. This is a surgical scrub for the outside. This is not meant for piercings. We used to recommend it back in the day, and it's extremely, extremely dangerous. I don't remember if it's below the neck or above the neck it causes blindness. I would think it would be above the neck, but don't use this. Do not use this for piercing.
I was on Instagram the other day, and there's this girl who pierces herself. I forget what the name of it was, but she did an anti-eyebrow with a curved barbell, and it, of course, after a few weeks started to reject out.
Really?
And she was explaining, really shocked. So, and she was telling people that the best way to care for your piercing, especially a rejecting one, is to use HibaCleanse. And I immediately hopped on there and I was like, you should not be using that, especially on your face. Like that is away from your eyes. Like, oh my God.
So dangerous.
So dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah. People are scary when they're at home piercers and they think that they just know.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Too. I mean, that's another reason why you need to do your homework to find a proper apprenticeship, because
yes, absolutely.
People don't know these things, and these are the things
crucial.
You need to be
these
taught.
are crucial things. Like really, you can really hurt somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, really hurt someone.
Awesome. So let's get back to some awesome questions.
Yeah.
Got quite a few.
ADD.
We are very tangent oriented.
How many people? How many people with ADD does it take to do a live chat? I don't know.
More than
hey,
3.
What are you having for lunch?
We have 3 questions today.
We have another one from L. Do you see piercings come in and out of fashion? What do you think is the most popular at the moment?
Yes.
Yes,
been
absolutely.
More of a popularity in ear curations over the past few years.
Yes. Fashions. I will say I've been piercing a long time, since 1994. And when I first started piercings, if I did a septum, I could also look right at that person in the face and said, are you a body piercer too? Because normal people generally didn't get septum piercings back in the early 90s. It was extremely, extremely rare. It was the big middle finger to all society. It was the most offensive piercing you could possibly get. And I had mine at a 2 gauge. So, it was pretty cool. Sick. And then it was just so bizarre. I think it's LaShawn, the singer for Seven Dust, and who was that, industrial band? The guy had the double mohawk. He had a septum pierce. I want to say The Offspring. It's not The Offspring. Anyways. Atticus Hand. If you guys know who I'm talking about, it was like an industrial metal band in the 90s. Anyways, he had a big septum piercing, and I think LeBret, it's like between those couple people made it real popular. Janet Jackson also made the septum popular, but if you would have told me back 30 years ago that every single day I'm going to be doing septums all day long, I would have been, you're a liar. No, that's never going to happen. There's no way hell would freeze over by that.
Way.
There's no way. And now it's...
And now we do like 2 to 4 a day.
How often do you pierce tongues?
Tongues are one of those things that were super popular when I was in high school, and then shortly after, but then they kind of died down a lot, and now we've been doing quite a bit again.
So this is kind of funny you say that when you were in high school, because by then, like I'd been piercing since 94. So tongues were the most popular thing. Then they went out of phase and they stopped being popular. And then there was a phase where they became real popular for a short while and then it drops down. This is what happens.
Snake bites are another one of those things. Those have gained a lot of popularity lately.
Yeah.
When they died down.
Eyebrows are coming back.
Yeah. Eyebrows are making a huge comeback. And I love that. I love eyebrow piercings. Let me see here. And then we come up with new stuff all the time. So like the front-facing nostrils, that's a new thing.
Orc bites,
all sorts of stuff.
Orc bites. Those if you haven't seen on Instagram.
Orc bites.
Lower vertical lip piercings.
Yep. Scott just did some lower vertical lip piercings, and
they're like
I forget
upside
what
down
people
angel
used
fangs.
to call those. I think it was like angel kiss bites or something like that.
Angel
My friend
bites
Kelly,
are upper
angel bites
Monroes.
are upper,
No,
but
not
these ones are
verticals.
angel kiss or angel bites, and then like the angel's
Labret.
kiss or something right here. I'll have to ask my friend Kelly what we used to call them, because back when he had them done, my best friend Jimmy had them too. I think they were called the angel kiss piercing or something super bizarre, but that was California. Different states are so different sometimes too with names.
Minnesota angel kiss, I think, used to be either the vertical upper labret or a
yep.
Medusa, and I think it just kind of stopped and
Vertical
changed. But I know California was always way
So many
ahead of
different
the
names
rest
for
of
so many
the
different
states.
piercings.
Yeah.
But if those make a comeback, the lower vertical orc bites, dude.
So cool.
As soon as Nova told me that, I was like, yes. Orc bites, cool.
By popular demand.
By popular demand.
Popular demand.
Nostril has never gone out of popularity.
Nostrils,
staple.
3 ends, nostrils, navels, and nipples. Those
Yep.
are staple piercings that will probably never outgrow a fad.
They put food on the table.
Yeah, those are the bread and
The
butter.
only thing I will say is navels go a little bit back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
They never go completely out of style, but when the belly shirts and like the low-rise pants were popular, everyone had them.
When
and
the
once,
seasons change.
Yeah, seasons change. So
high-waisted pants went on the rise, and then
You're hiding your piercing
people in
edge
their
didn't work.
and you were hiding your piercing, or they weren't healing properly. So then that's why we don't recommend high-waisted pants when you are healing a navel piercing. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So much fun. That's a fun question.
It's just insane how things have changed. Yeah. And the other fun thing to me is like when I first started piercing, you would get the minor coming in who's 16 and you have mom there, and like the minor's like trying to convince mom on letting them get a pierce or try to talk to them, and we all laugh about it, like, Mom, you should get a navel piercing. And now it's reversed because all those moms who were pierced before now are coming in and like, oh, my daughter wants to get her ears pierced. Like, you should get your belly button pierced too. And you should like, I don't want to, Mom. I'm like, no, it'd be really cute. You should totally. So now it's reversed how the parents sometimes are almost pressuring their kids because that's, the generation.
When I was a kid, it was like, no, you have to wait until you're 16. Or, you know what? My mom was like, you wait till you're 16. I turned 16 and I had this list of piercings that I just, I have wanted to get so bad. She was like, no, I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait until you're 18. And I waited till I was 18. And that was when I actually like went all out. And
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Cool.
Here I am.
Thanks for asking that fantastic question.
Yes.
Absolutely. We have Hey There from Becky C.
Hello.
Hi,
Becky C.
From Joanna. Hello from rainy Scotland.
Very cool.
Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I love, there's this little girl. It's super Scottish, and just listening to this little girl, and she says, "Oh, you got my thing for the caravan." It's the cutest thing. I need
Babies
Scottish
with
baby.
Scottish accents.
I'm having the worst baby fever.
pretty
I'm either
bad.
getting a puppy or getting
no.
pregnant again. I'm just kidding. Kidding.
Well,
I might be needing another piercer in about a year.
that's funny. So she said she wants to get a vertical labret and wondered what our opinion on them was. P.S. Kelsey, you look breathtaking as always.
Doesn't she? Awesome. I love vertical labret piercings. They're my favorite oral piercing. I've said this a lot the last couple of weeks. Any piercing where it goes into your mouth and you have like a flat disc on the inside, if the jewelry came unthreaded, the pressure came undone, and it went inside your mouth, you can bite down and chip your teeth. That's what I love the most about the vertical labret, is that if the bead falls out, the jewelry falls out. Normally, it's not falling out inside your mouth, so you're not doing the possible damage. Now, the negative with the vertical labret is you're going to have 2 scars instead of the single scar. But generally, I don't see much scarring on the top of the lip compared to the lower lip.
So long as you care for it really well, and you heal it properly, you're not putting anything funky on it, you're not messing with your jewelry, you should heal it just fine. I used to have a vertical labret piercing myself, and you can't really see where I had it before. You can see right here.
The bottom, but not the,
But even then, my bottom lip is rounded on the bottom, and you can't see the scarring. So I say go for it. We love vertical labret piercings.
Yes, we do. From Ruda, how many months do y'all recommend for me to wait to stretch again? I stretched to a 10 gauge in less than a month. I waited 2 months though, septum. So I'm not sure.
For a septum piercing or lobes?
I think septum.
Septum piercings, I usually tell people, those are really easy to stretch. They don't take very long to heal in general after having them pierced, about 6 to 8 weeks, 4 months-ish. Stretching, I usually tell people 3 to 6 weeks, and you should be okay as long as it's not
when
sore.
When it's ready.
Yeah, when it's ready, you'll know when it's ready. You have no soreness, itching, anything like that, because with stretching, cause irritation, some itchiness, a little bit of a healing process. So as long as you're not breaking tissue, stretching your septum's really easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's like going to those sizes, like if you have the other jewelry, like when you're in the shower, the hot steam, the hot water is going to kind of loosen things up. Take the one out, and if it just falls into place, you're ready. If you have to really push, it's not ready, and just wait a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yep. And once you get to the bigger sizes, I would probably from the 4 gauge on up, that's when you sometimes need assistance with some sort of a taper or a tool to help get it in.
Yep.
Sometimes it goes naturally, and then you can always start stacking as far as a form of stretching too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. We just talked about that the last time Kelsey was on.
Yeah.
From Zesty Child, which I love that name. I'm stretching my conch piercings, and I'm using titanium tunnels. They haven't been stretching. I've had my 6mm tunnels in for a year, and I want to get to 8mm, but they won't stretch.
Go to the glass jewelry.
Yeah. Single glass jewelry.
Normally, the gauge you're kind of going at is like from an 8 to a 6, a 6 to a 4, a 4 to a 2, but you can buy in between gauges like the 5 gauge, the 3 gauge, or the 1 gauge, whatever you need to get to that next size. And sometimes like piercings are stubborn and they don't stretch as fast as other people, and it's really frustrating when you're one of those people and it just doesn't naturally stretch, and that's when those half sizes really, really help out. You put it in there, it might be tight, and then maybe in a couple months you're right up to that size you need. And then there's always the tape method too, using Teflon tape, wrapping a couple wraps around every few days. Sometimes it's kind of tough on the plugs and the smaller sizes, but it can work. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, last tip is when you're wearing your plugs, sometimes if you have an old captive bead ring or an old clicker, while you're wearing your plug, put the ring in through the bottom in between the plug and your ear, and that gives a little bit of extra stretch. And sometimes wearing that while you sleep for a night or two might be enough for you to get up to that next size. That works really well in septums.
That's a good trick.
Yeah.
I didn't know that one.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for teaching me something new, too.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
From Marcus Rhodes, hit the like button. I did. They know what they're talking about. Keep your jewelry clean.
Yay.
Yes, Marcus.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Way to go, Marcus. Yeah, and hit the like. It's real simple. Doesn't hurt you. It's just done. You can be done already, and we don't even have to be
notified
talking
when we
about
do more of this fun stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hi, Scott and Kelsey from Alice.
Hi.
Hi, Alice.
And one of our regulars, Ursula's Odds and Sods.
Hey,
Would an anti-tragus piercing get in the way of stretched ears? It seems like changing plugs would bump a healing piercing.
Not necessarily. So it really depends on the depth of the piercing, I think. But
I'm staring at
even
Kelsey's
then,
ears as we're doing this. Yeah, it does pull down a little bit.
So here's the anti-tragus here, but I did also have this tissue removed as far as a relief cut goes. I had from here to here, this tissue removed, just because I did have this fold of tissue here, and so it is a lot closer to my cartilage, but I don't really have the anatomy for an anti-tragus piercing. I have very small.
If we were to do it, it's more of an angle like this, so it's going to be out of the way. My only concern would be is if Kelsey wanted her anti-tragus pierced, she shouldn't wear weights because that's distorting the tissue, and that would cause a bump to grow. But you'd want to wear plugs that are loose enough, not putting pressure on them. You all caught up?
And look at these.
Aren't those beautiful?
These are gorgeous. These are from Red Friend Adornments. They are my absolute most favorite weights on the planet right now.
Do you know what kind of jawbones are?
I believe they're cat mandible.
Cats? Okay.
Meow.
Love it.
Gorgeous. But yeah, anti-tragus. I don't think that it would really be an issue with stretched ears.
It depends on your anatomy and how high up your earlobes are pierced and where you want your anti-tragus. Because the anti-tragus can be pierced at different angles. It can work to accommodate. And like I said, just plan on doing the piercing.
And wear comfortable, lightweight jewelry in your...
And not stretching your ears until your piercing's healed up. So an anti-tragus is a pain in the butt to heal. It takes a long time in general. Expect minimum of 6 months. And it's not like a light 6 months. It's going to be temperamental and back and forth.
Awesome.
Excuse me.
Thank you, guys. We've got a question from Romain P. Hi from France. I was wondering if stretching your septum makes your nose runny. I currently have my septum and both of my nostrils, and my nose gets really runny. It's so annoying. Do you guys have any tips?
So
Blow your
weather,
nose.
yeah, weather changes out here. When we get our weather changes out here, I do sometimes have to take out some of my jewelry just because my nose will just run and run and run, and then my jewelry looks crusty and gross, and I have to clean it a lot. So,
Are you saying
get a runny
it runs
nose.
from a fresh piercing, or just because you have them pierced and they're healed would be my question. 'Cause in general, mine doesn't run more because I have my
Right.
nose pierced. But when
Right.
you get a fresh piercing, there's swelling, things are going on. And I would imagine the body is going to create more mucus and try to flush out the problem.
Right.
You know, that's why piercings swell up, is trying to push out the problem. The body looks at the jewelry as the problem, which is weird. I think my body wants to like it. I want to think my body would like the jewelry.
Our bodies do like
But
it.
it says no at first until finally it says okay. And I think
is
that's
going
why
on?
it might run a little bit during initial piercing. But once you're healed, it shouldn't really cause more nose leakage.
Right.
Yep. Maybe
Snottage,
Well, when it is cold
Allergies.
and the jewelry gets cold,
snotsicles.
yeah, you get snotsicle.
that does happen.
I'm from Minnesota.
them
That's real. That's a real deal.
That is.
Oh my god.
Hi from Mononoke Mar. Woo, great seeing you guys.
Hey, dude, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
From Oddly Icarus, which I love that name. Happy to catch the stream. Do you think I would need to remove oral piercings like angel fangs each time at dentist appointments? Once healed, how long is it safe to have oral jewelry out? Thanks.
Okay.
So some dental appointments require getting like x-rays and everything, which they will want you to remove your jewelry so that they can see anything and everything that could
jewelry will
potentially be wrong,
block the
because
picture.
jewelry can block the photo that they're trying to get to. So in some cases, yes, you do need to take your jewelry out.
If you're not getting x-rays, what I would say is if you're wearing angel fangs, which means you probably have some sort of a spike on there, you might want to put a flat disc or a ball so it's out of the way, so
Right.
the dentist isn't going to, if they see a big
Dentist doesn't
spike
get
pointing
poked.
towards their gloves, they don't want
Right.
their gloves to be broken.
And you
They
don't want their bare hands in your mouth.
Yeah.
So
not like the good old days.
not like the good old days.
Imagine
You
being
just-
a dentist back in the day, and it's just. Yeah. You guys want to hear something really gross? This
Yes,
is unbelievable.
absolutely.
Okay, it's not really that. It's gross, but like back in the day, the old school tattoo artists used to pride themselves on only using one rag or one bucket to clean tattoos off. So they would have a rinse bucket and one rag, and you'd wipe your arm and they'd rinse it out. And if you look at the back of their station, there's blood and ink all over because they're just like flicking the stuff all over. They didn't understand aseptic technique and bloodborne pathogens back then.
Way back in the day, yeah.
So they pride themselves. I haven't changed my bucket in 3
One
days.
of my first
Like you did how many tattoos, and you keep wiping everyone's blood on a fresh tattoo? It's pretty darn gross.
Bad
I'll
time.
have to do research on that because that sounds wrong as hell.
What's the concern? What's the risk back then?
Right, yeah, back
You know,
then.
there was no hepatitis. There's no AIDS.
And,
there's
and
no,
back then they didn't test blood before doing transfusions.
no, none of it. The
Yeah.
tattoo artists back in the day didn't use gloves. That's the more recent.
No.
Yeah.
gloves,
Well,
no.
I don't even think dentists use gloves until like the 70s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Crazy.
Right.
That's intense. Actually, one of my first piercings on my wrist right here. Okay, it was a garage tattoo, so
Piercing or tattoo?
tattoo.
Okay.
Oh yeah, one of my first tattoos. Did I say piercing?
You said piercing.
Yeah, one of my first tattoos ever was right here on my wrist, and she was using like a washcloth and just like wiping it every time. I ended up getting what's it called?
Staff.
Staph infection. Yeah, and I had to go on antibiotics. It was awful. Yeah, never again. Don't get tattoos in garages.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, kids.
Might be
can
fun in
learn
the
anything.
moment, but
Oh, there was one part of that question that I think we kind of skipped over that I want to touch on.
Sorry about that.
No worries at all. Once healed, how long is it safe to have oral jewelry out?
There's no definite answer on that one. That's the crappy answer. I understand.
some people's bodies heal faster than others. I, for one, can't take any oral piercing out. Like my cheeks, I think, closed up within an hour. It seemed like I tried to run a taper back through and they just would not go in. It's also just tons of layers of tissue. So RIP. So
All my lower lip piercings stayed open, but I also think I had them stretched up to a 6 gauge. My Medusa and my Monroes all closed up immediately.
Monroes
Tongue piercings
closed up.
are still open, though. But again, I had mine stretched, which does make a difference. They're more likely to stay open if you've had that fistula stretched open a little bit, so it's less likely to go back to the complete closed state. Tongues are most likely to stay open. Tongue webs, if you're fully healed, 50-50. But yeah,
I think it really just depends on the person.
yeah,
Some
it really
piercings,
does.
no matter who you are, stay open forever, and other piercings, especially oral piercings, I think it's just because of the layers of tissue. They tend to close up and they want to heal really fast. So
Yeah.
Well, also as a piercer, when I touch someone's lips, there's definitely some people who have way softer lips and some people where the tissue's more
So
dense and
dense,
hard.
right.
Now, that being said, it's like if you're healing a tube of scar tissue and you have really soft lips, you don't have as much pressure putting on there as someone who has that real dense and it wants to go back to the natural state. There's
Right.
more. I would think that might have something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that
maybe.
I mean, I would think that, or I mean, just oral piercings heal faster than a lot of other piercings because of the need for our mouths.
Correct, but the thing is when we're healing the piercing, we're healing that fistula, that tube of scar tissue, and that scar tissue generally stays in there. So if you feel an old ear piercing or lip piercing, you feel a bump in there. That's that fistula.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily believe a lot of times it completely closes,
Goes away,
but I
yeah.
think it shrinks so small that you can't get jewelry through there. So we say it's closed, but technically it's just super, super tiny,
Shrunken
and you need
down.
like a 40 gauge piece of jewelry that goes through there.
That would be.
They don't make
rough
40
time.
gauge jewelry, people. Don't look it up.
Yeah, that'd be a rough time for sure. All right, from Twisted Sista. Love your channel. About to pierce my labrae. I have a Monroe and nostril currently. I don't see too many of those combos, so I guess we shall see how it looks.
Awesome.
Yes, yes.
They look rad.
You have a Librette or Libre already, and you're doing what?
They're getting their libret.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting that. She has a Monroe and a nostril. So,
Cool.
Sweet.
yeah, it'll look cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. Have fun.
It's a good one. From Lydia, we have a couple questions. I have 2 tongue piercings at the moment. I was thinking of going up to 4 piercings, but will that many tongue piercings cause issues with speech? And second question, what is something a beginning piercer should know?
Don't overstep your boundaries on the beginning piercer. If you're not comfortable, don't do it.
Right.
It's that simple. And when you're ready to do that piercing, seek out a mentor, someone with more experience, someone who's done that, who can be there with you and help guide you through it. That's the best advice. The best advice I can give is never stop learning. Continue education.
Continue.
New things come out all the time. New needle technologies, new aftercares, different ideas and theories on bumps. You have things called bevel theory on the needles, how the needles get pushed through the skin and the angle. There's so much that it's almost
isn't
impossible.
it's not just poking holes through people's bodies, which a lot of people use that term like, oh, piercing, I could pierce all day long. There's like an actual thing to it. I learned something new even still to this day, on different anatomy in people or techniques, theories and everything. So
anyone can be a piercer. Not everyone can be a good piercer.
This is only something that being self-taught gets you so far on. So in my opinion, like definitely get somebody who is going to teach you their ways, like a reputable piercer. But you don't really figure out how to do these things until you're physically doing it. So yes, find someone who is also comfortable with you messing up on them. So if I'm not sure if this is an apprentice that we're speaking to, or if it's someone who is just now getting into piercing, who has not gone through an apprenticeship. I'll sit here and tell you all day long, go through the proper apprenticeship first and foremost before you just start jumping into piercing people. Like that is not the way that you'd start to do this.
Yeah.
So
Befriend other piercers too.
yeah, befriend other piercers, pick people's brains. My inbox is always open. Scott's is always open, or anything.
Yeah.
The page, our page, the Piercing Vegas page is always open. So
I remember back in the day, a friend of mine, Jim Sens, who's a fantastic piercer, the whole freehand thing started coming out where we're using less tools. And he was like, hey man, do you think you could freehand a tongue? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, come by the shop. Let's play around. So he came by the shop and we took gauze out. We had toothpicks. We weren't using real needles. And we were like, how would we do this? You hold the gauze here. Does the needle go through the gauze? Does it this? And it's like, what's the best way? Are they laying down, sitting up? up? Should it be top down, bottom up? There's so many different things. And we just talked about it and we were able to figure it out. If I didn't have Jim there, how do I stand in the mirror and hold my mirror and try to figure out what the best method? Like, we need to discuss it. He's like, no, this doesn't feel comfortable. This is this. And we learned a lot that way. And that's the way I'm a self-taught piercer. I went through an apprenticeship, which was really, really short. But I learned right away that there were seminars out there, the Gauntlet, the Fakir Intensives. Right. I went to every shop and it was like, hey, I'm a piercer. Who's your piercer here? What jewelry do you use? And, a lot of people shoot me out of their shop, but at the same time, I made a lot of friends. And it's good to have more friends on your side instead of enemies.
Exactly.
There's more than enough
There's a way
of
of being
us.
a humble piercer, or even like just being humbly self-taught and like going out of your way to better yourself, wanting to better yourself. And then there's like the other version of people who are like, yeah, I'm a piercer, I can do this all day long. And then it's like, you really just don't know anything and you're not doing anything to better yourself. Or, APP comes around and you're one of those piercers that's like, oh, I'm not going to take classes because I already know how to do all of that stuff. There's nothing that's going to benefit me from here.
I can honestly say in the last 5 years, because I continue the research, I've made piercings less painful. Mm-hmm. I've made them heal better. I've made more people happier because I continue my education, and that keeps people coming through my doors.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They know when you're passionate and you love what you're doing and you're trying to give them the best experience.
Exactly.
And that's what this is. This is customer service. We need the best possible experience.
The best, most comfortable, and safest experience is the most important. So
I agree.
And that's what we aim to do.
Yes,
I don't even know what the question was anymore, but
I know.
yeah, we just keep talking. And
I think it was what is something a beginning piercer should know. But one of the questions that they had was basically is 4 tongue piercings too many?
Okay.
Can that affect speech?
It depends on the anatomy, though. So there are people like I believe Elaine Angel has how many tongue?
I think she has 4 or 5.
4 or 5 going straight down, but she has the anatomy for it. So
and they're vertical. She doesn't have the venom piercings 2 on the
right,
side.
they're going straight
so that
down
could be a factor.
her tongue. Yeah.
Also, tongue web piercings. The line underneath your tongue, that doesn't affect speech whatsoever. So if you had 3 on top and 1 on bottom, it's still technically a tongue piercing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, so it kind of depends on what you're actually doing.
Depends on how much room you have. So based on anatomy, if you don't have the room for it, it's just going to get all bunched up, especially underneath on the bottom. And then it'll probably just be really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
don't go too close to the tip of the tongue. Mm-hmm. You will rub it up against your teeth and your gums.
Constantly clicking.
Mass problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I will say this, even if you have the room for it and everything and you get 2 new piercings in your tongue, you're going to sound like a fool for a good week or 2. That just comes with the territory.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And Kelsey, I think this is in response to your horns being taken out. Emily Sakuma said, I sympathize with Kelsey. I have 2 facial scarifications and I get asked about and stared at a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that's life-changing, and you really have to keep that into consideration. Getting into the heavier portion of body modification, I made sure to get things that I could remove. So I have 1 face tattoo, but it means a lot to me, something that means a lot to me. But I've always wanted to get more face tattoos, but it's something that I have held back from because it's your face. It's the first thing someone sees when you start to speak to them. And it's life-changing. It's life-changing. People look at you differently. Not everyone has scarification on their face. Not everyone has horns. Not everyone has as many piercings as I do. Luckily, they're, tastefully placed, as well as jewelry being tasteful. It's not, super intense, but it's still there and it's still noticeable. It's distracting. It distracts you from being a normal person, or what society would consider normal.
Perfectly normal. What are you talking about?
I'm so normal. Like, I'm just like a normal human being person.
Here's my 2 cents on this. With my personality, I use it to my advantage. Mm-hmm. People will come up and ask questions, and I get better customer service at every single place I go because I can befriend people. Right. They're going to remember me. I'm not a jerk when I'm ordering food, mm-hmm. or I'm not
when someone asks you about it.
So if you're nice and polite and, use it to your advantage, it's gotten me more positives than negatives. I've also had the negatives where I've had people pull their children away from me while standing in line at the grocery store or something.
And I'm a mother, and it's crazy to me.
It's insane. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It shows people shows me your true colors. I probably wouldn't want to be friends with you anyways if you're going to be that judgmental and that, you know, it's
That
just
much
like,
of a jerk.
whatever, you know.
I was
And
only nice to you.
it feels bad for a second, but at the same time, like, hey, I'm just not going to waste my time on you. It's that
Yep.
simple.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at it as a positive, not a negative.
Exactly.
But if you're a person that doesn't want to talk to people and you don't want, like, I
Don't
know a
get
girl
heavy or
who
moderate.
got all these facial tattoos and she just hates talking. She's like, I wish people just leave me alone. Then you should not have tattooed your face then.
Yeah.
It's true.
All pretty like that. You should have done a bunch of, like, you know, I don't even know, skulls and demons, and people would probably stop talking.
Maybe.
I think
It
that
was
would
all
have their
floral and
respect.
pretty, and it's like, oh, it's gorgeous. And
Gorgeous,
she's
yeah.
just like, ah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's the wrong.
And you know, you totally wish that people wouldn't, that wouldn't be the first thing that people notice, but like the fact of the matter
real.
is your face is the first thing someone sees when you start speaking to them. So yeah, it's a thing.
It is.
So-
So it comes with the territory.
It does come with the territory.
Get ready
and
and-
you can't be mad or upset when people start to notice that first. But that's why I'm glad that I was able to reverse it. So
Awesome. We're going to change gears here slightly. From Clive Newman, scrotal piercings, pros and cons, healing times, question mark.
Cons.
I don't really have anything to say. I don't have scrotum.
They're great piercings. You can do a lot with them. They're generally not too problematic to heal. With a new genital piercing, sexual play can happen almost right away because it's on the scrotum, not the actual penis. So therefore, you know, things like that can actually happen.
Yeah.
You got to keep in mind it's an open wound for a month. Bodily fluids, things like that can cause infections, STD spreading. But for the most part, it's a pretty easy piercing. You can do it on the sides, the back, the front, the bottom. You can do series of rows. I've seen someone go like the frenum and go all the way around and all the way back to a guiche. Super fun piercings.
Yeah,
Super,
they're a lot of
super
fun to do as well. I love
Really
scrotal
not that
piercings.
painful either.
No,
Yeah.
I've never had anyone be like, "Oh, that was like the worst piercing I've ever had."
It's a
I've
pinch.
always had people be like, "That was it. Can we do 2 more?" Absolutely. Let's do this.
Negatives, if you were wearing like a barbell or a circular barbell where it's an open end, it could get caught on some boxers or some underwear and pull. But like I tell everyone with a genital piercing, like you get something, if it doesn't feel right, go check it out. Like literally, it could be stuck in your clothes the wrong way, twisted,
Right.
Caught on other jewelry. If you have multiple piercings, you might have lost a bead. You know, it's one thing to have like a nose piercing and look in the mirror and go, oh, I lost a bead. But you got to check out your stuff once in a while if you have those genital piercings and make sure everything's intact. I've had it before where I've had frenum piercings like a ladder, and it's like I thought I had 6 before. Now I only have 5.
Oops.
I think one fell out. I think one
Lost
fell.
it.
That means you probably have too many genital piercings at that point in time.
Yeah.
I think I had more before.
Yeah.
That's pretty
True
funny.
story.
I love that.
You guys are gonna have nightmares about.
What
it.
about
I'm
like
so
sitting
sorry.
on it? Is there the chance of sitting down and like pinching?
A guiche piercing, but not with the scrotum
No,
piercing.
okay, cool.
Now, if you're a bigger person and your thighs and everything's kind of touching
I was going to say
together,
thighs rubbing.
then
so
maybe a
personal
little
experience.
bit, but yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I don't have a scrotum to really talk about this, but I mean, I have had outer labia piercings.
Not much different.
Where I feel like it wouldn't be much different. It's in like the same general area, but I have thunder thighs, so like my legs rub together, and sometimes I would feel the jewelry and have to adjust or something. But yeah, probably similar.
No, the difference would be is the outer labias are more stationary and they're not as movable as a scrotum is.
Right, because that's just kind of like
Yeah. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
wrecking ball. I'm so sorry.
Pretty much.
Oh, this podcast.
Next question.
Hit the like and subscribe. I think we've earned it this episode.
Yeah, truly. Next question.
Cheers to
To
that.
scrotum piercings.
To scrotum piercings. Next question. More dick piercing stuff. From Nick. On the fence about getting a PA. How long does it take to heal on average? Is my
Oh,
main
those are so
concern.
easy.
Yeah.
I compare those to the VCH. Very similar tissue. It is
Yep.
paper thin what we're piercing through. Healing wise, keep it clean, leave it alone. You're looking at like 6 to 8 weeks ish, and it's like maximum.
Max.
It-
You're
They
gonna
are
feel
so
healed
quick
way
healing.
before that.
Yep. So like just like a VCH, I have had clients tell me the PA within a week of having it, you kind of feel like you've just had it forever. It's just in that general area, everything heals so fast. So go for it.
Now, as a guy, I will say this. We don't have a menstrual cycle, so we're not used to bleeding down there. When you get a PA, sometimes if you're wearing like a latex or a nitrile glove, you could fill up as much as 1 or 2 fingers worth of blood. Which is a lot more than a lot of guys are ready for.
Menstruation.
So expect that for a couple days. Normally when I do this piercing, I'm going to pierce and then I'm going to stretch to put a little pressure on there to try to minimize that bleeding. But I'll always put some gauze around there and put a glove on with a lightly wrapped around rubber band. You don't want to put that rubber band on too tight. Use your imagination.
Might fall off.
Yeah, God, that would be a bad phone call. My penis fell off. But anyways, and it's like wear it for a couple days until you're done bleeding, and so like bleeding happens. But then once you're done bleeding, the only other issue is night erections, because when you get erect, the jewelry's going to get tighter and you're going to pull those crusties inside. Oof. And normally an erection wouldn't wake you up from your sleep, but that one would.
That one will.
That'll
do it.
So like I tell everyone, like go to sleep with a cup of ice water next to your bed. So if you do wake up with an erection and it's painful,
just dump the water on
not dump the water on it. Like, I'm not sleeping in the wet spot here.
Ice it.
Yeah. Dip it in the cup. It's going to immediately shrink you up because that cold water, it's going to soften up the crusties. You might crusties, and then you're able to go back to bed. So that's my 2 cents there. It's generally healed up in like 2 to 3 weeks. You seem healed, but technically 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep. It was probably the easiest piercing I've ever healed.
Yeah. It's more awkward having the receiving tube go down the urethra to catch the piercing needle.
Yeah, it is.
That's the worst part. So don't worry. We use a lot of lube.
Here's a scary story. Spooky stories. So one of my first PA piercings actually was on my best friend Jimmy. Shout out to Jimmy for experiencing this. I basically lost the receiving tube in his urethra.
It dropped all the way in?
All the way in, like, foop, in.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh my God. I just like, thankfully my best friend, I was like, okay, I'm like, of course you have to hold the shaft of the penis and everything, receiving tube in. And I don't know if I just like lubed it up way too much, but it just like went in and I squeezed to stop it. And I like grabbed the base and I just like pushed up and I got like a little bit of it to pop up. And I was like, oh my God.
Did he react?
He was like, oh, that felt weird. Oh my God. I'm going to have to show him this because I wonder if he even will remember. But yeah, anyways, one of the first PAs I ever did. It was awesome though. He did great. Good job, champ. But yeah, it was really scary. Really scary.
Damn, that scared me. I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. Wow.
At least you got it. That's
yeah.
I think
that's a new one.
Caught it in the nick of time.
Truly.
Wow.
Oh man. Okay. So from more, I'm considering getting angel fangs sometime in the future.
Cool.
After some other piercings first, but I'm hesitant for a few reasons. Do you know how long you have to wait before kissing someone afterwards?
5 years.
No mooches.
I'm not sure about, and I'm also not sure about the look with my snake bites.
I think it would look really cool.
I think it looks really cool with snake bites for sure.
And then kissing people, so other people's bodily fluids, including saliva, can cause infection, irritation, problematic healing, and everything. So at least the first, I would say 3 to 6 weeks, let it heal a little bit. So it's just so it's not like a fresh open wound. So.
And if you have your partner, just keep a bottle of rubbing alcohol and you just wipe off their lips so it's sanitary. You can get a little packet. No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
That would burn. Owie.
It'd be awful. No, I tell
normal
people,
dental hygiene. You can just.
It's an open wound right on the tip. Yeah, a peck should be okay, but
no
keep it,
swapping spit, making out hot and heavy. Don't do that. That's a no.
I agree.
Shame.
I agree. You should be fine. Yeah, that's just the thing. It's an open wound for a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Absolutely. This is also in response to the horn, Kelsey. So people tell me I'm mutilating my body. I also have loads of tattoos. I tell them it's up to me what I do.
Yes.
It is absolutely up to you. This is your body. It's what you want to do. But again, keep in mind that there will be judgmental people for the rest of your life. I can't tell you how many people I've had since removing them tell me, oh my gosh, I wish I had it in me to tell you how much I just didn't like you having these. My stepmom, for example, she was, she just kept, I saw her this last weekend, and she just kept ranting and raving about how much prettier I was. And I've always had such a beautiful face, and my horns just took away from that. And she just always hated them. And I'm glad that she was able to get that out now that I don't have them. So, yeah,
mutilation is a bad word.
Mutilation is a bad word. That's why, the last time I was on, I don't like when people compare self-mutilation to body piercing. In some cases, in terms like you can look at it that way, because you are doing something to feel something for the moment. But I like to do it because it makes people feel better about the way that they look. So for me, body modification and piercing and everything, it's all about being happy with the way that you look. Don't worry about what other people think, but just understand that if it's taboo to people, it's going to be taboo to people, and there's nothing you can really do about that. And their opinions, luckily most people keep their opinions to themselves, but you will get people that just simply will not.
There's different levels of extreme.
Yes.
Okay. On some of the lowest levels of extreme of body beautification.
Beautification. Nice say.
Beautification. Yeah. I was like, that came out wrong, but kind of right. But if body beautification, God, I can't say it now. It's gonna be permanently messed up.
Body mutilation, you mean?
Cutting your nails, cutting your hair. You're mutilating your body. That's not natural. You're
getting
cutting
lip
things
filler.
off. Lip filler is mutilation.
Yeah. You're doing
dyeing your hair.
You're doing something to enhance the way that you look, or mutilate is the way that you're looking.
Bodybuilding.
Bodybuilding is
going on a diet.
Body mutilation, going on a diet.
The list goes on and on. People
Plastic
do corsets.
surgery. Yeah.
Yeah. So what level is okay and what's not? And there's different levels for each person, and it's just like some people feel totally normal. Like the lizard man said this. It's like there's different levels. He goes to this level, but then he's looking at the next person going, I'd never go that far. But there's so many other people that go, I'd never go as far as the lizard man. And there's other people like, I would never even pierce my ears. There's some people who are like, oh, I need to be all natural. I never cut my hair. And they just, what's right, what's wrong?
There is no right and wrong.
Society,
people will just look at you weird, unfortunately. And it comes like we keep saying, it just comes with the territory. So
it does.
Do what you want with your body.
Yep.
Please.
Some people will look
means.
at you weird.
Body
but
beautification if you like it, and body
if you love
mutilation,
it, you love it.
Don't.
It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Yep.
Yeah.
But people will think complete opposite of you. So
it's true. And some people will also totally love it and love you for it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, just ignore all the negative and just bring on the positive and use it only as the positive.
Yeah.
Life's better that way for everything.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yep.
It's about how you feel, what you want. Period.
We have from Mononoke Mar. I'm reading this for you, Scott, since he's your boy. I got my coin slot done by Steve Truitt in Chicago. He does travel there.
Cool. And we were just talking about that earlier.
The coin slot.
No. Well, no, they were saying like someone's looking for a place in
Illinois.
This is a different person, right?
So
I think they're responding to that though.
Oh, yeah. My point exactly is like these artists travel all the time.
Yeah,
so
a lot of artists.
Steve Truitt's a good friend of mine. He is amazing. He travels all the time. So just maybe look him up. Otherwise, you can go to Iowa and see Chadwick or Chad
and Manda, yeah.
Cadillac, is that what it was?
Cadillac Rex and Miss Manda
What a
Rex.
cool name.
Yeah, it is.
They have a shop called Tooth and Nail in Davenport, Iowa.
They're super cool people too. Yep.
Yes. We've got one from Deandra Dahl, which is actually a good follow-up to the beautification.
Sure.
Yes. Question. Hi, guys. I'm looking to get lip filler, but I'm worried about how it would affect a Medusa piercing when I get it done in the future. Can you give some advice on whether I should get the Medusa first or the lip filler first?
So
from New
Can I start
Zealand.
with this one?
Absolutely.
Okay. I would say you need to do the lip filler first before you actually do the Medusa. I get really nervous. I haven't seen this, but once you start getting lip filler with other piercings, I think it can change the angle and the placement of the piercing. So if you're planning on getting continuing lip filler, it could change things a little bit.
It really could. So from personal experience, I do have lip filler. I have had my lips done 3 times now, full syringes. I have had my philtrum piercing done for about 10 years now. I can't say that the position has really changed as far as the piercing goes, but they do have you leave the jewelry in for the procedure. That way they can work around it and make sure that it's not shifting the piercing. So in terms of getting it before or after the filler, you can get it either way, but I would say I agree with Scott wholeheartedly on that. Get the filler first and then be comfortable with where your lips are and then get the piercing. So, because it can change. It can change. I haven't had any issues with mine. It's right exactly where.
Cool. And as time goes on, these people are going to get better and better with the lip filler. I mean, like if you went back 20 years ago, it wouldn't be as even, as symmetrical, but as time goes on, you get more and more practice, you get better and better.
And
but
find a reputable place to get it done. They will focus mostly on just staying inside the actual lip line itself and not so much up here. If you get it up here, that's considered migration, and that is not a good thing. So...
You know, on another note, I'm really glad I'm not piercing today. I drank way too much coffee. I had a little coffee before you came here, and I got this. My hands are just sweating, and I'm just like, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We love caffeine on the show.
Water?
There's water in my coffee.
Oh.
Yeah, you just got to get it
cubes.
down.
Yes.
Yeah, ice waters.
Yeah.
Oh, here's somebody from way across the world.
Cool.
Respect from Turkey. You're a very talented and amazing person. I'll do my best on the name. I think it's Arif Unal.
Sounds right to me.
I'll take it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for being a part of the community, and we love having you here.
Awesome. So these next two questions, they are from two different people, but they're very related.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say them both at once. The first one is from Ruda. What do you have to do to become a body piercer? The second one is from Dementia. I'm 15 and hoping to become a body piercer or tattoo artist. Any advice?
Yes. I'm going to start off with the second question. Don't start piercing people at home. You're going to get some bad habits. It's technically a felony in a lot of places because it's public endangerment. You could be spreading diseases, things like that. Plus, it's like you really need the training to do things properly.
Exactly.
I would never bring on an apprentice who does home piercings and things like that first because I have to unteach all that bad habits first. And a lot of times things just get great. Like, well, my way works. Why would I listen to you? Like, I want someone from scratch. Now, back to the beginning, you need an apprenticeship in order to become a piercer. I believe this is law in most of the states. I can't say that for sure, but an apprenticeship is generally a minimum of 6 months. That's what they suggest here in Las Vegas. I say it should be closer to a year to 2 years in a busy shop, so you can experience everything, not just all the piercings, but if someone were to pass out, the different questions, the different reactions to metals, and it takes a while to get it all in before you really feel comfortable for me to let you go and start piercing people and not cause problems.
Exactly.
So,
in the first 6 months, that's usually when you learn about just basic understanding of like what we do, how we talk to people.
A lot of times you're not even piercing anyone within the 6 months.
No, I didn't start. Yeah, I started piercing someone within the first 6 months, but I was also, just really wanted to get into it, and
I think I
was piercing friends.
Yeah, I think I pierced my cousin like within the first 6 months.
Yeah, it was about 6 months I started piercing people, but I mean, I was mostly counter and understanding sizes and setting up for my mentor, watching my mentor's every move.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Good time.
Yep.
Good time.
It's tough. If you can get your foot in the door, it's pretty amazing. A lot of shops, I mean, most of the time you're not going to really get rich off of a body piercing career. You're following your passion.
Your passion. It's doing something that you love. It's not really about the money. Honestly, it's really not the greatest, most amazing money, and it's not something that you necessarily build a career that you retire from.
We do okay, but
we do well, and everything's great. But then you also have to keep into consideration, like a retirement plan. This isn't necessarily something that you retire from.
A lot of people get into a second aspect of the piercing, whether it's jewelry making, like stone, metal, owning a studio, maybe social media like this, a YouTube channel. There's a lot of different things, but a lot of piercers kind of do something else. Some piercers even have a second job just because of that are going to be able to put money away so they can actually retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then about the becoming either a tattoo artist or a body piercer.
Good point.
Tattoo artists and body piercers are two completely different people.
That's
I guess.
schizophrenic.
Yeah, not. That's fine.
of them.
We're doing great. We have ADD really bad, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm doing okay, and so am I.
Yeah, me too. Pick one or the other. I mean, you can absolutely get into just body art in general and become a body piercer and a tattoo artist and live the best of both worlds. But
Very few people can do it well.
Yes, but working in a studio that catered to both, I don't know anything about tattooing or what it takes to become a tattoo artist, and I don't think that I would really want to. It doesn't really seem like it would be something that would be for me. Can't draw, first of all. Can't draw a stick figure to save my life.
Curious if any of you have a personal dentist who's also your personal physician.
Right.
Because they're both in the medical field.
Right.
They're completely separate, and that's the best example I can think of.
That's something I really want to talk to the health department about doing. It would be something that they would really separate licensing, because a lot of tattoo artists out here just throw needles at people and consider themselves piercers as well, and it's terrible.
I will say the sad part is it'd be the same test, and it's like you're taking the same test, and you just have to. A city will probably do it because they're going to want the money for both licenses. That actually might work because
it's something
of that
I want to
reason.
throw at them because I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
so
these
the general
microblading girls becoming piercers now. It's ridiculous.
Let's do that this year. Let's get on the board of health
write
and
a letter.
let's do something. Let's make a difference.
We're writing a letter.
We're gonna see if we can hire
That
some
was a
enforcers.
good high five.
Yeah, it really was. I always look at the elbows.
Right. Yeah. So I think the general consensus is find a good apprenticeship and pick one as far as.
That's exactly what I meant.
Nova.
No, thank you.
No worries.
That's exactly what I meant. Thank you.
From Kelly Weaver. Hey, from Jersey, friend of the show.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Teehee. Okay. Sorry, I'm distracted now. Dementia. I want to get a bridge piercing. How do I know if I have the right anatomy, and what size would you recommend?
It depends on your anatomy as far as size goes. Typically, we would pierce it like a 14 or a 12.
Now, as far as your anatomy, a lot of people can reach here and grab skin and pull it.
Yep.
I do not have bridge anatomy.
Some people
at
can do
all.
that, but that doesn't mean you have the right anatomy for it. I kind of push down on the softest spot, and if there's room between your skin and your bridge, you're okay to get pierced. But if you're going to pull that skin out and to do the piercing and the bar presses back up, you can get bone erosion. Skull erosion. It's eroding your skull away. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a terrible thing to me.
Sounds really
So that's
scary.
why you need to have enough loose tissue in the front in order to pierce it. I pierced someone the other day. They're like, oh, I want to get my bridge re-pierced. And I was looking at their bridge and I was like, oh my God, who did your piercing? They went way too deep. And they're like, I did it. And I was like, yeah, it didn't heal, did it? Like, no, it's nothing but bumps and irritation. I'm like, yeah, because you went way too deep. And it's like, if they would have left it in, that could have been some serious, serious damage. So the point here is don't do this at home. And then on top of it, they were like, it wasn't straight either. I was like, well, bridges are like septums. Septums need to be level this way, and they need to be level this way, and the same with the bridge. And when your hands are covering your eyes trying to do the piercing, do you really think you're going to get it straight?
That one.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
It's a good one.
Yeah. It's really hard to tell, but you have to have enough loose tissue, and you kind of need to go in and talk to your piercer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And make sure your glasses, if you wear them, don't rest in that area because...
That is an annoying
Doesn't
thing.
work.
They can, cause some irritation. But
What are we doing for time, Nova? I have lost track of it.
No worries. We are at an hour and 42 minutes, so I think we're going 2 hours. Is that right?
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
time is it?
12:47. So
Yeah.
we've got
Oh,
about
I got 10 minutes. Or wait,
about 13 minutes left.
13
leave at
minutes.
1:30?
One.
Okay.
Your appointment's at 1:30. No, you're not leaving at 1:30. They'll be sitting at the door knocking and,
Right.
and like, yeah, if you're watching our podcast, she's on her way.
I'll be right there. 10 minutes away.
Well, we've got a bunch more questions, so I'm going to try to zoom
Let's go through a little faster.
Yeah.
Let's...
Less chatty talking, yes.
God, we're
Love
extra
we love the chatting, though.
I think it's the coffee.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the coffee. From GGN Fennec Vinay. I put my nipple piercing back in after a year out. Let's see. A lot of everything y'all said is... y'all said it perfectly. I had both opinions about it, so I get it. I think he stretched it.
Yep. And saved it.
Yep.
It eliminated the process, but it hurt in the process.
Oh, yes.
I have mine at 4 gauge, so I fully understand, and I've done it a couple times. I had mine originally, and then I pierced them, and they stretched to a 2. Then they started rejecting. Then I re-pierced them at 14 gauge, and then we stretched them back up to the 4. And I'm staying at the 4. That's good enough.
I think that's great.
Yes,
Good,
indeed.
good choice.
From Forget Me, are cannula needles good for piercings?
What are they?
Cannula needles.
Oh,
Okay, so
I've never personally used one, so I really don't have an opinion on this. So,
can you see if that's the needle drawer right there, the top one? We'll see if we can show you what no, try the next one. It's only needles. That's all spray. Yep. Do you see a cannula?
sure do.
Cool. So these are cannula needles. I ordered these as samples. We're trying to get a video done right now. That is a 20. Okay. So anyways, let's see if we can open this up. How do these... Okay, now over in Australia, I know, and over in Europe, they use cannula needles. Now, a cannula needle is basically...
I think this one's already open. Yeah.
Okay, cool. This one's open. So basically what it is you have the needle. Can you zoom in on me here?
Oh,
Sure.
wow, I see.
Okay, so basically what they do is they do the piercing, the hub's still on there, and then what they do is they pull the needle out, but this plastic hub stays in the piercing. So a lot of times when you're seeing these videos online, they're going to take a scissors and they cut it here because they need to get this plastic hub off. Now, the tube is slightly bigger than the needle, which is slightly bigger than the jewelry, and the jewelry can go inside this tube. And I think a lot of people, careful, that's sharp. I think a lot of people use externally threaded over there because it goes in the tube easier than the internally threaded.
Wow.
So that's one of the few times it kind of works. Careful putting it back in, it's kind of weird. But anyway, you're not supposed to re-hub these needles, but it's not a using needle, it's a sample needle. But that's what they are. Now, are they better? I've looked at these under microscopes, and the cannula needles have more of a quick angle.
I was going to say, it looks like it's very...
I got to draw here. I get to draw this episode.
Yay!
Woo. Okay, so a regular American needle has a bevel really long, like so. And a cannula needle is much, much shorter. So I personally believe that this longer bevel, the longer draw, it makes it a less painful and a smoother piercing. When they were shorter like this, I feel like it's more blunt and more painful. Plus, there's the fact that you have this little sleeve on the outside, so you're piercing and
there's
stretching.
that little step
I've
that
never
has
been
to go
pierced.
through.
Yeah, I've never been pierced with a cannula needle. I don't think that extra step makes a big difference, but it might. The test I got coming out here soon is going to prove which one takes more pressure to get through a piece of leather. So it's pretty consistent. It's not skin, but leather should be tougher than normal skin. So therefore, we should get some accurate results. Which needle is going to be sharper and better? Now, is it better? A lot of times they say they're doing the piercing and they're removing the needle right away, so there's less of a chance of a needle stick. So in that theory, it's better. But at the same time, I really have never really done a needle stick when doing a piercing. I've done needle sticks when I cleaning tools and a needle fell into something like that. That's another story. But is it better? I don't have an answer. All I know is they only use the cannula over in Europe and Australia, maybe other parts of the world. Here in America, we pretty much predominantly use the straight needle with no plastic tube. That's a lot of words for you. Thanks for the speed round. What a great question, though.
It is a good
hopefully
question.
that helped. Yeah.
Let's see. We've got another one from Araif. Let's see. What do you think about piercing using the gun, especially about helix piercings?
Never.
Never.
Don't do
Ever,
it.
ever. It spider webs the cartilage. It shatters and your cartilage breaks all in that area. It's just the earring with a little spring behind it being pushed through. So it's very, very traumatic. If you've ever cut yourself with a dull knife, you know as soon as that cut happens and it doesn't heal very good. A sharp knife, if you got cut by it, a lot of times you don't even know you're cut till you look down and go, whoa, I've been cut. And that's the difference between a piercing needle and a piercing gun.
Yeah.
Piercing guns can't be sterilized. They can spread hepatitis, any bloodborne pathogen disease. They claim 100% sterile piercing, but that gun is not sterile. It's just the jewelry inside the package, which they put into the dirty gun, which goes onto your ear. Do the math. Yep.
No.
Never, ever, ever. Guns should be banned, or pressure-sensitive devices should be banned. I know they rebranded. They don't call it a
rebranded
gun
and they call it
anymore.
something different,
so they can get around all the laws.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane.
Yes,
I'll call
it is.
BS on that one.
Let's see.
Close down all Claire's.
Yeah, agreed.
And piercing pagodas. And
Piercing pagodas.
anyone who uses those old piercing guns.
Mm-hmm.
I got my lobotomy at Claire's.
Mm-hmm.
We have a follow-up from Oaken Cloaken.
Cool.
Which I love that name still. Hello again, Scott, Nova, and Kelsey. Thank you for your advice previously. So I've decided to have my earlobes repaired first before I go and get them re-pierced. But if I do go that route, is there a chance I can re-pierce them in the same spot in a more matched, even angle? Eventually, after they have fully healed, can the scar tissue even be re-pierced? I've heard different opinions on that. Some doctors and piercers say you can, some say you can't.
So after having, and I'm sure we're talking about like an earlobe reconstruction.
Yes.
Right. So after earlobe reconstruction,
Hang on one second.
we would recommend.
Is this from a full stretch or from like ear
It's like a
slits?
pierce.
I don't recall the exact scenario. I think that they had like
Can I see
a
it?
bad blowout, or something along those lines, and needed to get their ears repaired, or maybe I don't know
So-
the exact situation.
So I've talked to doctors actually, or talked to people recently, and if you have the slit in your ear and you just have it sewn up and you're starting over, doctors suggest not piercing in the scar tissue because the scar tissue is only 80% as strong as your normal tissue, and it can fall down, especially if you don't change your ways. If you get thicker jewelry in there, it's not going to fall down the same way. If you went from full reconstructive, like if you had your ears stretched big and they weren't good, you had them like reshaped and closed up, I think you're better off. It'd be easier to get re-pierced if you had full reconstruction as opposed to just a little slit.
So let's say this is your ear, right? I'm just going to doodle this a little bit here. And then this is your lobe, whatever. Okay, so here's your lobe. So let's say you had your piercing and it created this little slit here, right? So when this is repaired and that's stitched back up, it'll eventually heal. But you will be left with this tiny bit of scar tissue. As long as you're not piercing anywhere through this scar tissue or right above it, let's say right here, you should be okay. Just go off just like a little bit to one of each of the sides. That way the piercing cannot travel down into the actual scar tissue. So let's say somebody with my earlobes, when your ears are put back together, in some cases, the scarring can look something like this, like a puzzle piece, like whether the scarring be here, scarring can be here, scarring can really be even just like in the middle right here as well. As long as you're piercing through viable tissue, doesn't really matter anywhere it's going to be, it should be perfectly fine and work out just fine. And heal okay. You won't really have any, as long as it's not in the scar tissue or close enough to the scar tissue, you should be perfectly fine placing that piercing realistically anywhere and making them nice and even and straight. So after any sort of construction like that, the most crucial point of that is, don't get pierced above the scar tissue itself, because the piercing can migrate and like through the less viable tissue or the scar tissue can cause it to open right back up.
Now, my other 2 cents is a lot of doctors tell people like, oh yeah, after like 2 or 3 months, you're totally fine to get re-pierced.
6 months to a year.
Yes, you need to let that fully heal, and then that's where I really push the Mederma or some sort of scar tissue remover, massage it, break down the scar tissue. If you have a big line of scar on there and you do the piercing, that scar's not going to go away. It's going to stay that purple discolored. Get your ears looking as normal as possible, 6 months to a year minimum. I don't care what the doctors and surgeons say.
Right.
It's going to open it back up and you're more prone to problems.
Yep, 6 months to a year minimum.
Awesome.
So if you're a doctor, tell your friends this too.
Yes.
Please.
From Kelly Palma, guys, I have had my forward helix for a year. I avoid sleeping on it, clean it with saline spray once a day, and it's been downsized with titanium, and it's still red and angry. Any tips?
Are you a normal makeup wearer? Do you put anything else on it? You know,
What piercing?
The forward helix.
Okay, yeah.
So I've noticed a lot of times with forward helix piercings as well as tragus piercings, if you're a heavy makeup wearer and you're brushing this way, you're brushing your makeup directly into your piercing, causing inflammation, excess swelling, redness, and a prolonged healing process. Makeup and piercings do not go well together whatsoever, even on ear piercings. So, I mean, it realistically could be anything. You know, your shampoo. Do you put products in your hair on a daily basis?
Another thing you could do is take your camera phone or have someone take a picture of the inside of your ear.
Angle of the
Some
piercing.
people, the angle of the piercing could be it. Some people put really large discs on the inside, like a 4 or 5 millimeter disc, and it's pressing up against the cartilage, which is distorting the tissue and getting really, really sore. Generally, most people use a 2.5 millimeter disc on the inside for a forward helix because it doesn't put pressure. So if it's rubbing up against a wall on the inside, that could be a problem. So, I mean, that could be a possibility too.
Material.
Glasses. Do you wear glasses, and do the glasses rest on there?
What kind of top is on the top? Is it like
Yeah.
a prong set or something smooth?
You downsized. Is it too downsized?
Is it too
Did you go
short?
too short?
It's possible.
Yep. Factors.
Lots of
All
factors.
factors.
So do we think maybe the general consensus should be to go back to your piercer and have them?
I
Yes.
would recommend it. That way they
check.
can really look at it and give you a proper
Number
diagnosis.
Number one, take a picture and look at it yourself. Now, I hate saying this, but piercers are people too.
It's true.
And some people will lie to if they did something wrong, they're not going to admit it.
So maybe,
I have
just go
seen
to a
this.
reputable piercer,
Yes.
we would say. So
Maybe even a
Second
second opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
From Tate Felton, howdy from Australia, Scott, Nova, and Kelsey.
Hello.
Is it possible
Welcome
to get a septum pierced at a larger size, maybe 6 gauge, and put a straight tunnel in rather than a curved barbell? I would imagine they mean a circular.
Okay, so I'm going to say probably not. I'm still going to say the problem with the tunnel is if you're doing a single flare tunnel, the edge on that flare is going to be pretty sharp. And when you're doing the piercing, it's towards the tip of the nose and it's going to swell. And I've seen those flares dig into the tip of the nose, which would be my concern. So if you're going to get pierced with a plug, you should probably get pierced with a glass one, maybe a single flare so it's rounded on the end and not too much flare on there. You're not going to be wearing
something
anything
long
through
enough
there.
for swelling.
Yeah,
Something where you
but
can
not too
adjust
long
the
where it
O-ring.
presses against the nostril too.
Exactly.
It's really, really tricky. So, yes, it can be done. It's just you got to have the right jewelry. The biggest septum I've ever pierced, I think, was a 6 gauge, and it
that
went
was the biggest.
smooth as butter if you have the right anatomy. Everyone's
But if-
anatomy sweet spot is different. So if you don't have the right anatomy, you might be nicking a lot more cartilage, making it 10 times worse.
And if the goal of this is to just hide the piercing in general, and that's why you're wanting to start with a plug or a straight bar, whatever the case may be, just have it pierced with a circular barbell, have it flipped up. That way you can hide it, and then you can safely start to wear, the plugs and the
can you
tunnels.
do-
Hey, the
Yeah.
way you would do this is you're going to unscrew the beads and you get some O-rings and you put the O-rings on there so it doesn't spin and fall out. And once the O-ring's on, it's like
You can
a,
even
a
widen
retainer.
just like a 6 gauge 3 circular bar.
My 2 cents, just have your piercer invest in a 6 gauge glass retainer. It's made, it has a little uplifts.
shape.
Like I know Gorilla Glass makes some really, really cool ones, and that would be my preference over a regular plug. That way you're not dealing with O-rings up your nose.
Yes.
Yep.
Snorting it when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
That's a bad time.
But if you get it done, let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Let's see, from Leave Me Alone. I just got a high lobe and a low helix 6 days ago. Any advice for healing?
Keep it clean. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
No
Easy
rotating,
peasy.
spinning, picking. I'm going to give you guys my aftercare spiel.
Don't mess this up. This is in front of the whole world
Keep it
right
clean,
now.
leave it alone. No rotating, spinning, picking. No rubbing alcohol, peroxide, Bactine, Neosporin. No antibacterial soaps. No sea salt soaks. No cotton balls, Q-tips, fingertips. Wash your hands before you touch it if you have to touch it for any reason whatsoever, like flipping it up and all that good stuff. Try best not to sleep on it. You'll be good.
So basically,
Yep.
you're just saying don't.
Just keep it clean and leave
Yep.
it alone. Best
Yes.
thing you could do is just rinse with sterile saline solution 2 to 3 times a day. Nice warm shower.
Keep the
At
crusties
least
off
once a day. Keep the most important thing, in my opinion, is keeping the jewelry free and clear of any sort of crusties or dirt and stuff like that.
Debris.
Just because once those pass through the piercing, it's super uncomfortable, and it also causes scar tissue, prolonged healing process.
Super uncomfortable is the nice
Cetera.
way to say. It
Yeah.
hurts.
It
It
stings.
stings.
It makes your eyes water.
There's the nostrils.
After I give that spiel, everyone's like, "So you want me to just leave it alone?"
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like-
pretty much.
Pretty much. I mean, keep the jewelry clean for your crusties, sterile saline solution 2 times a day. But other than that, don't mess with it.
Don't mess with it.
Less is better.
The worst thing you can do is create a chemistry experiment. You're not a mad scientist. If you put
all
these different chemicals on there, well, first of all, they're all mixing and none of them are doing what they're supposed to in the anyways. And if you're only doing one this day, one the next day, one the next day, one the next day, which one worked?
Yep.
Yeah. So be scientific about it. Do one thing, be consistent about it, and figure out what works for you. And yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
We'll give a little shout out to my man Swamp Ass. Hey Scott.
What's up, dude?
Hey Nova. Hey beautiful Kelsey.
Hello.
Here's a good question from Pierce Padre. How do y'all do mantis piercings? Could you potentially make a tutorial?
That would be fun. So, I mean, there is a video of myself piercing Scott's mantises. I want to redo a video though,
I don't ever want to do straight up tutorials because I'm not teaching the public how to do piercings.
Yep.
I'm teaching people how to be safe about it. I thought about eventually doing some sort of a master class and a teaching thing where if you wanted to pay for something where it's only for professionals, I might do that in the future. But I'll let you know. I use a receiving tube. I do a receiving tube on the inside of the nose, and I try to pierce straight in or as perpendicular to the skin as possible. It's just a different nostril piercing. That's how you have to look at this one. Instead of the nostril piercing on the side, it's just on the front. It shouldn't change much. Other than like if you use a taper, it might have to kind of be at a little angle and you're twisting, contorting the tissue, which isn't the most comfortable, but it's not the end of the world. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that was actually all the questions that we have time for today. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming to hang out with us.
We really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. I think you guys all know this, but we love doing this. We love having you here. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, and of course, keep putting holes in your body. See you on the next video.
Bye, guys.